for folks that aren't super familiar with webhooks, essentially, I'm curious how you would describe it there, but my understanding is like basically a way to submit real-time data from whatever tool you're using to an endpoint, usually a third-party tool, and like getting access to a public API. And you can also receive data back and like update user criterias or like personalize an email in there. But
Yeah.
yeah, like you've mentioned using the webhook functionality in Iterable has opened a bunch of doors for you, and you've been able to integrate really cool third-party tools like direct mail. Walk us through that.
I would love to. Webhooks is something that I couldn't define it, before this job a couple of years ago. So as we're talking about on the job training, this was definitely one of those instances. I think
Yeah.
you nailed it. Webhook is grabbing information and sending it elsewhere. And so when I joined Vibrant, one of the things that they had integrated was Lob, which is a direct mail API service. And I love working with direct mail, just kind of generally. I've done direct mail at a number of different jobs. And I'd never worked with this because I couldn't go to a printer. It was
Mhm.
it's an API. But the thing that I have learned how to do is, you're in Iterable, you're working on your automation. You have someone who has not responded to email, has not responded to SMS, has not responded to multiple attempts at contact. So what my predecessor had set up was, you send that person's information from Iterable via webhook to Lob. And then Lob, through the magic of technology, prints a letter, like an actual physical letter, and mails it to that person. And I think that is such an interesting intersection between digital and physical that I'm a little obsessed with it.
Mhm.
And the people at Lob have been so helpful. And I'm not affiliated with Lob. I really like my CSM and she's great. And so we've been able to integrate direct mail in a lot of instances where we can't contact someone, or, we deal with a lot of, perhaps an elderly population or a rural population or people who don't have access to digital media very often or consistently. And so being able to have that physical touch point that we can, kind of automate through this data flow, we grab their name, grab their mailing address and send it over via this little button in the Iterable journey builder. It's just a little button and it looks so cute and it sends so information just across the internet. And it's one of those things that to me is just remarkable that we can facilitate that so easily from one system to the other system. And the webhook feature, there was an Iterable webinar that I attended recently. It was hosted by Emily Benoit, I think is her last name. And she talks about how she used webhooks too. And what was amazing to me was I was familiar with our Lob use case. You have information, you grab it, you send it at when you need to. And she was using it to not just send it to a third party, but send it back to Iterable
Hmm.
and manipulate it in a way that it could be used in a different way.
Hmm.
And that blew my mind because that was one of those things where, for example, we have recently started enrolling children in some of our research studies. But in most cases, the 3-year-olds don't have email addresses. So we need to send the email to the parent. So in Iterable, it's, you have all the information about the kid. What's the kid doing? What is this is available to the kid. Has your kid gotten their vaccines or something, is available to the kid. But that needs to trigger an event for the parent. So how do we make that connection? We use a webhook,
Hmm.
which I was inspired to do by Emily. And so we have this journey where something happens with the kid, something is available. We send a webhook, but just back to Iterable, where it sends a custom event that says to the parent, this thing is available for your kid. And it's been remarkable how we've been able to manipulate this data and use what is a fairly simple, you send information from A to B, but in this case, we just send it back to A,
Hmm.
but can change it. And that's the thing that you can hear me getting so excited about this. Like, I'm genuinely getting very enthusiastic about this technology. I just think it's so cool that we're able to just boop, boop. And I don't have a developer
Yeah.
background is the other thing. I'm a fine arts major. So this is all stuff that I've, like you said, learned on the job, was curious about, tried to up level my skills with a webinar from our friends at Iterable, and it's had some really amazing results.
Nice. It's a super cool story. I think, yeah, like webhooks are underutilized because they may seem a bit scary for your average like marketing automation user, but I like how you've described it. Like it's just a way to send information to another tool, and in the way that you've built it, it's also getting information back and then doing other stuff with
Yeah.
Iterable. I love your use case. I was thinking back to um, like my current company, we use Iterable. We don't make use of the webhook stuff too much yet. Like a lot of our onboarding journeys for our users are very like custom and tailored for the client itself. So like we're
Okay.
struggling using catalogs to kind of like personalize stuff in one journey as opposed to like having a bunch of multiple journeys. And we've played
Right.
around with this idea of having a webhook that would just trigger direct mail, like self mailers and different like postcards. But there was always this element of QA in the whole process that like
Sure.
just like it holds us back from doing it. And it's so easy for like it's hard enough in Iterable to do QA and make sure that we're not like personalizing a wrong line in the address field, let alone like sending that over to a third party from a payload that comes in the webhook. Like, and we don't necessarily get to like QA all the payloads, let alone the information coming back. So